This conference will now be recorded.
I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:02. This is January 26th, 2023, and we're Committee of Adjustment meeting 01-2023.
There's David.
There's David. So David will know, like the rest of us do, where our emergency exits are. And looking around the table, I'm not sure I sense that there may be any pecuniary interests to declare, but I ask you to do so if there are any. Seeing none declared, you can declare them at any time during the meeting. And just to go on to the approval of the agenda.
I'll approve it.
I will.
There you go. Moved by Brenda, seconded by Terry. That's the agenda. Thank you very much. Now, the approval of the meetings of our last meeting, which was a goodly time ago in October. And are there any amendments, corrections, comments?
None for me. I'm happy to move that we approve them.
So Susan Bob has moved the adoption of the minutes of the October meeting, and looking for a seconder. Corinne,
I'll second.
I said Corinne the second. Okay. I see a nod, I think, and thank you very much. All seeing no one against it. That's terrific. Lets us go on to the application in front of us this evening, which is for Michael Campanile and Natalie Mazzaferro on the 5th line east. And this is a seeking relief in order to minimize or lessen the front yard setback due to site conditions and topography. So with that said, I'll turn it over to David for any comments you may want to make.
Okay, thank you, John. I think my report's pretty self-explanatory. This is a minor variance application for a 2-story freestanding garage. I believe Mr. Campanile has just joined us as applicant, landowner. He's asking relief from the front yard because the site characteristics further back on the property apparently aren't amenable to putting it there in order to meet the front yard setback. He meets all the other requirements in terms of zoning performance standard setbacks, that is. It has to meet the height, and it will. I've noted that in my report, and of course it has to be for permissible uses, and I've noted that in my report. Now, I've also noted under policy that it's within the Greenbelt protected countryside, and there is some a stand of trees in the front yard, and notwithstanding what's in the backyard, but in the front yard. My understanding, though, from Mr. Campanile is that there's a cleared area there where the garage would be sited. However, if there are, and again, I really sort of focus on hardwood species because of their longer term for growth. So if there are any, Mr. Campanile, if you can hear me, that may need to be cut down, removed in order to make way for this garage, I think we need to know that. And I think it's reasonable that under the Greenbelt plan provisions to protect natural heritage species. And again, this has a cumulative impact. So it's not about a couple of trees here and a couple of trees there. It's cumulatively what's coming down to make way for accessory uses such as this. But nevertheless, if some trees have to come down, then I think committee might want to consider how they want to deal with that. There may be a no net loss consideration for this, whereby if I'm just going to pick a number, if 6 trees come down, then 6 saplings get relocated and planted elsewhere in proximity to offset that loss. I'm going to let Mr. Campanelli speak to that at some point tonight because he knows his property best. And I think we could get oversight from the town arborist to ensure, not that we don't believe Mr. Campanelli, but the town arborist at least to come on site and provide for committee that everything's copacetic. Should this situation I've outlined arise and be necessary. My report stands, it's straightforward. I'll take any questions any committee members may have on it. Not sure there will be any, but I think it comes down to maybe looking at another condition or two based on the natural heritage policies that I've just cited. And that's all I have to say at this point.
Would you like to say anything, Michael, or would you prefer us to go through our committee conversations first and see where they're headed? And at that point, I would give you an opportunity to comment again before we take any resolutions. And in that way, you may be tempted to go over your application in some detail, and but you should know, Michael, that we've all had an opportunity to review it in detail, in all of the detail that's been provided. So it's your call, Michael, either now or later or both.
Yeah, sure. Just to provide some context to, well, it's fresh in my head for the trees that are on the property. There is one oak that would not be coming out that we've kept within the setback, the side setback that we're not touching. So other than that, it's a row of cedar, and most of it's already there was an opening there that was previously opened before I took the property over. So it's just that one oak, and anything that's hardwood would be staying.
Very good. So let's go around the table. Any comments or questions, Brenda?
No, he's answered my question about the trees, but I support this application with conditions, of course.
Thank you.
David's conditions.
Corinne?
I have no questions at this time.
Jerry?
No, I have no questions. Excuse me. I have no questions.
Thank you for having a drive-by, Jerry. I had a very close look on our satellite imagery, which is up online, and got me possibly almost as close. So there you go, on a day like today. Bob, comments, questions?
No questions, and I'm happy to support this application.
Very good. Well, if you will indulge me, I will add a few things along the same vein as Mr. Trotman did regarding the tree cover and natural heritage. And Michael, some of this is just for your information. Shouldn't affect your application, but for your future information. So you're located in the green belt, as is acknowledged in the planning report. But in the Niagara Escarpment, for example, they have their own planners and their own planning system. But with the green belt plan is essentially downloaded to the municipality for the municipality to deliver that green belt plan of 2017. And if you wish to see essentially the official plan as it relates to you, Mr. Campanile, I just let you know that that's easily accessible online to have a look at, because what it does is it has its own natural heritage policies, and they, like the Mono natural heritage policies, identify key natural heritage features where some considerable care has to be taken for any development or site alteration. And this, for your information, is in 3.2.2.3 of the Greenbelt Plan. And one of those features is significant woodlands. And in the absence of the detail in the Greenbelt Plan in terms of what's a significant woodland and what's not, what the plan does in its section 3.2.2.5 is it says that individual municipal official plans may be refined with greater provision to identify these natural heritage features. And that is what has happened in Mono. And so there has been mapping of significant woodlands in Mono, and that has captured many of the woodlands on your property. So that's just for your information, but between the Greenbelt Plan 2017 and the Mono official plan, you can have a look at those detailed maps as they relate to your property for future reference. Now, that being said, I was thinking of one particular additional condition for the group's consideration and for your consideration, Mr. Campanile, on the basis of the remarks that have been made so far. And it would go along the lines of condition number 4, reduce tree felling and vegetation clearing to the minimum required for the building envelope and the area immediately surrounding. The reason being that the proposed site is a Town of Mono official plan, natural heritage system, significant woodland, environmental protection 1. Just so that is built in, and if Mr. Trotman has a way of suggesting how that might be monitored, I think Mr. Campanile, you've indicated your interest and willingness to keep that quality hardwood cover on your property. So that's terrific. So if you, do we have any comment or objection or a seconder for that particular additional condition? Yes, Mr. Trotman.
Thank you. Just John, just to make it maybe some context here for condition fulfillment. So notwithstanding that good language you've written, I think I'm wondering if we simply say as a condition, notwithstanding that policy reference, that tree removal be reviewed and approved by the town arborist to the satisfaction of the town. And that way I can dialogue with the town arborist, get out on site and say, okay, well, if there's any trees, and particularly hardwoods, although Mr. Campanile, I believe, has said there aren't any that would come down, but let's defer to the town arborist and say, well, this one could be affected, even though it's not needing to be cut down. It could be affected by the structure. What trees need to come down, town arborist can weigh in with good judgment that way and protect the town's interests, protect the Greenbelt's interests for that matter, and say, okay, well, I can be objective here and say this one and this one and this one come down. I can be on site to review it. I can approve it, and I can give Mr. Trotman an email saying everything's been done in accordance with my expertise as town arborist, and that will check mark the box for that condition. So that the tree removal, if any, be removed and approved by the town arborist to the satisfaction of the town.
Could we add that as condition 5? So condition 4 would state the reason for
condition 4, I think, would it not?
No, I've suggested a condition 4, which I can read, and which kind of, it's a general drift of, reducing any tree removal, because that's the goal. But more specifically, it gives a reason, because you always should have a reason expressed for a condition. And then yours, number 5, would explain how that would be done through an inspection by the town arborist. Okay.
How's this for thought? Tree removal be reviewed and approved by the town arborist to the satisfaction of the town in accordance with the Greenbelt Plan. I know you cited certain policies, but just generalize it to the Greenbelt Plan. Would that be okay?
Uh, Well, that's right, but because the Green Belt plan actually itemizes it, has a natural heritage feature of the significant woodland, and the ROP identifies where that is. I don't see the difficulty in citing that, but I don't care how that fifth one is done if the fourth one.
I'll leave it in committee's hands. I've cited what would be, I guess, in a condition 4. But if you're, if you prefer your condition, what you believe to be condition 4, John, relative or in addition to 5, what I just cited, I'll leave that to committee to dialogue and come up with a solution.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Jerry?
Can I ask a question of Mr. Campanile? Do you have any idea of how many trees you would be taking down? I don't expect it's a lot, just looking at the situation. Do you have a number in your head that have to come down to build your building?
There are no trees at the moment that need to come down in order to.
No, that's what I.
build.
That's
That's
great.
what I thought.
Yeah.
So we're kind of wordsmithing here, maybe.
The reason why we're looking at this space is because it's already opened to that dimension of what I would need it to be. So
Sure.
there are no trees that would need to come down.
Right.
No, that's what I
Well,
thought I
that's-
observed.
These two additional conditions then aren't any burden. They're just a recognition of that isn't in the staff report of what the significance is of the woodlands on your property, which is a communication from us to you about how lucky we consider you are to have such property.
Well, with all of that in mind, I'm happy to move that we approve this with those 2 additional conditions. So I'll make that motion.
I have a
Just-
I'll
seconder.
second
Just have
it,
a
Bob.
point of comment,
Yeah,
though,
I'll second.
if I may.
One moment. Moved by Bob, seconded by Jerry. Comment by David. Mr.
Well,
Trotman?
the conditions have to be fulfillable. Okay, so they can't be just as good as they are, as commentaries they may be. They've got to be fulfillable. Thou shalt do X, Y, Z.
Yes.
So I'm just worried,
so-
John, that although
So the
you're
fourth one
citing-
is to, as I think Mr. Campanile has said he can do, is reduce tree felling and vegetation clearing to the minimum allowed for the building envelope in the area immediately. And then your fifth one is that the town's tree consultant will make that happen. And
Both of those conditions are fulfillable. I think we can
Yes.
easily move along with this, which is why
Okay.
I've moved that we approve it.
that's right. So with that being said, shall we vote on this resolution as the conditions of the approval as amended or added to?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Seeing yeses all around, thank you very much. And Mr. Campanile, have a fine evening and an enjoyable 2-story garage.
Oh, thank you. What I did, it's very nice to see you all, by the way. I didn't get an opportunity to say that at the beginning. What I did want to say is just we are fortunate here to have a nice piece of land that is, we're committed to the municipal or the managed forest tax incentive.
Oh, very good.
We've been very diligent with other arborists and making sure that we maintain the land and do. My neighbor is, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Dice family, but they are kind of the generations that have been here. So they built this house actually, and he was in conservation himself. So I've had many conversations with him about how we maintain this land and continue it for generations to come. So appreciate your considerations towards conservation and all those things, and just know that we're very much aligned as a family, the Campanile family, to continue that. So thank you.
Very good. Well, enjoy the neighborhood.
I'm good to log off, and
Yes, you are, Mr. Campanile.
well, you all have a lovely evening as well.
Pay our
Thank you.
respects to Mr.
Good
Bennett.
night.
Take care.
So any other business this evening?
Yes, one item, please. we brought this up before. I'm looking at the application for minor variance, the cover page. Item number 4 on that, where it says it is recommended that the sketch submitted with the application be legible, accurate, and to scale. We brought this up before. The word recommended needs to be changed to it is required. And I bring this up because at least 1 or 2 committees of adjustment ago, there was an application in the subdivision beside me for someone who wanted to put a very large deck in their backyard. Their sketch was so far out of scale, it looked as though the deck that they were proposing was tiny, when in fact the deck they were proposing took up half their backyard. And I brought this up, and the fact if we'd had a scale drawing showing that the deck took up half the backyard rather than just a tiny little piece of it, it might have affected people's opinions. So I have brought this up before. I really want that item number 4 to say it is recommended to say it is required. So David or Susan, if there's any reason why that can't be changed to that, I'd love to know it. But if people are giving us proposals and their drawings are not to scale, then that doesn't give us an accurate picture of what they're asking for.
Well, Bob, I draw your attention to the sketch for this evening's application, which is wildly out of scale, but fortunately there was a detailed survey attached, so
yes,
you can ignore the application, but that doesn't always work out that way.
Well, no, and I don't have a problem with the detailed drawing there. This is fine. I'm not bringing that up for this application, but just for any other applications coming forward. We have to insist that they have a drawing that is to scale, so that when the Committee of Adjustment of the day is looking at it, they can see, in fact, that the proposed deck takes up half the backyard rather than just a little sliver of it.
Any comment, Mr. Trotman or Ms. Pottle?
I have no problem with that at all, but you can well imagine sometimes it's like trying to get a horse to drink the water you're pulling it to get applicants to, tell them, like, no, that's not good enough. No, you gotta, and they don't want to spend the money to get it digitized. And then it becomes, then what happens is, like you're dragging me out, I'm going to call the mayor now. So it's a good point, Bob. I'm not going to argue your point. It's a good point. There's no real good excuse for someone not to come through with a digitized plan, but some folks, don't get the message the first or second time. You got to tell them the third or fourth time. I just think we just have to be mindful of that and just try to persuade them, bring them to persuasion of, no, we've got to have this. Thank you. In many ways, Bob, it's like someone saying, well, I don't want to pay the fee. No, you got to pay the fee. So it's no different than that, really, if you look, and its fundamental form. No, I don't have a problem, but some folks, don't always get the message the first and second time. So just,
I would say, I would say, quite frankly, that's their problem. They're asking the town for a minor variance. And
it is, but it ultimately becomes my problem.
It doesn't have to be digitized and spend a lot of money on it.
It doesn't, but that's usually
on a piece of paper with a crayon, as long as what you're asking for is to scale. So that's why the word recommended has to be changed to it is required.
I don't have a problem with that. I do not have a problem. And I would go further and say, in this day and age, if you really want to make that simple, Mr. Applicant, go to Doug the Draftsman for $100 and get it digitized. Simple as that.
Perfect. Well, I'm not pushing for that, but the word required has a whole different meaning to recommended.
So you are recommending that we change the word recommend to require, and
yes.
You want to make a motion of that?
I'd love to move that motion that point 4 on the covering page information, that the word it is recommended be changed to it is required.
And the seconder for that?
I'll second it.
Corinne has seconded it.
You,
All those in favor? I see 2 in favor.
I really don't think it's necessary because the price that these people are paying just to get this minor variance is $2,000. And if they write down dimensions on the paper, that should suffice.
Brenda, a picture is
So
worth
I
a
don't-
thousand
so
words.
let me just say, I think we've had enough discussion of this.
Yep.
I don't see the motion as carrying. So let's just live in hope and David, who's receiving, Mr. Trotman, the planning department, who's receiving those healthy funds for the application, can maybe help out with the scale and get it to us in scale, notwithstanding what it is submitted.
I always would advise someone, you know, you can't do this on the back of a sketch. Those days are kind of gone. We need something very legible and readable. And yes, it should have dimensions and it should also be to scale. So my go-to comment is, Mr. Applicant, if you can't do this yourself, like all of us, there's things we have to go to other people for to get done. It's not an exorbitant fee to go to Doug the draftsman and get a digital scaled plan. If you could, I mean, we need to be mindful about all this. If someone's bringing, let me just finish. Let me just finish. If someone's putting up a $50,000 garage, never mind a $200,000 home, I would agree that they can afford the $100 give or take to do a digital plan. So I'm supportive of that. But you know, I would say though, if the motion didn't pass to require us to recommend, we will be very prudent in trying to ensure though that applicants, we get to the requirement at least 95% of the time. Okay, I will certainly support that endeavor for sure. No problem at my end that way.
Thank you very much. Any other business this evening?
Nope.
Seeing none, I request a motion for adjournment.
I motion to adjourn.
Ms. Pottle, Corinne has moved that and Jerry has seconded that. And all in favor? Seeing none opposed? Have a fine evening and may you get shoveled out as quickly
Good
as
night, all.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.